Who is he?
He's an asshole, sir.
I know that. What's his name?
That is his name, sir. Asshole. Major asshole.
And his cousin?
He's an asshole, too, sir. Gunner's mate, first class, Philip Asshole.
How many assholes we got on this ship anyhow?
Yo!
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk. Straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee. Alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Odos? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know Show. We are ready to go, locked and loaded. We got some big news to talk about. And listen, and if you happen to be new to the show, welcome. Just welcome. And while you're here, make sure you head over to YouTube, search us up, Football on the Know Show, hit that subscribe button, as well as the notification bell to let you guys know when we go live. You can also follow along on Facebook. Same deal. Become a member, become a know-it-all. Let's go.
Absolutely, buddy. The news came out today, Joe. Baker Mayfield traded after months. After, the whole offseason here, we're hearing how disgruntled he was by listening to, the reports about Deshaun Watson. You got to, the Browns looking to get Deshaun Watson here for their quarterback and trying to make that trade. And now he's there and he wants to be out now. He's done and all that nonsense. And we didn't know if we could actually find a partner here. They wanted this, they wanted that. People weren't going for it. We heard a little bit about Seattle possibly. The Panthers have always been in the mix. And finally now it is done, the done deal.
Yeah, and we saw this coming. We knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of when. And like we thought well ahead of the curve is we thought at some point before training camp this was going to happen. And what do you know? A couple more weeks, 2-3 more weeks before training camp starts, and now the deal gets done. He does get traded, and everybody was thinking, oh, well, what is he going to go for? Is he going to go for a high pick? Are they going to be able to get multiple picks for Baker Mayfield? Even though he's at his age where he is, he's still young, still in his prime, he still has something to offer. Now, what that means is he still has a chance to become a legitimate franchise quarterback for now another franchise. For the Panthers, was a conditional pick, a 2024 fifth-round pick. It could end up being a fourth-round pick when it's all said and done. But again, it's going to be performance-based. We're going to see what Baker can do. And listen, the Panthers don't make this move unless they are 100% in on moving from Darnold, and that's just the case. So they pull this trade off. They bring in Baker, and as much as they want to say this is a quarterback competition for both, and may the best man win. That sounds great, but you don't pull off a trade to get Baker to have him sit the bench at the very end. So they bring in Baker. Baker seems to be the definite starter for the Panthers, and Darnold is now left sitting on the bench yet again.
Yeah. I mean, again, and you think about what this roller coaster has been through. I mean, you think about, they're from the same draft class too. I mean, and you were hearing the rumblings that, that Sam Darnold might be going to the Cleveland Browns, that they was kind of their guy. You thought it was almost there. Then the night of, it was all Baker Mayfield. And then there it goes. He gets selected first overall for the Cleveland Browns, and now they are both now on the same team, and still a lot of question marks around these two players. To where are they true franchise players? Are they starters in this league? I mean, and if you take a look at Sam Darnold, again, he had his time there for the New York Jets. but then finds a new home in the Panthers as well, was able to perform when he's reunited with Robbie Anderson and company there, and also having to be able to have Christian McCaffrey as your running back too, and the stars they have in a young up-and-coming team here. But since then, he's had some injuries, not been able to play. You had the COVID plague that went through everybody and stuff like that now too. So where there were even questions moving forward, and now you bring in Baker Mayfield, and that just, I know you're saying, yes, you bring this guy in to be your starter. That's the only reason why you would make this trade here. But now you bring in that discomfort that comes along with having these two polarizing quarterbacks in your on your team now and on your squad. So what do you do with Sam Darnold? Obviously, like Joe said, he's going to be probably bringing this up to his agent. I want to get out of here now because I don't want this to be some competition. Is it going to be a competition? It doesn't seem like it will be because, again, you don't make the move unless you really want this guy. And if you're going out and looking for a guy, you bring him in, he's got to be feeling the same way that Baker was feeling when they went and got Deshaun Watson there for Cleveland. So now you're stuck with these guys here. What do you do with Darnold? What kind of trade are you going to do to get him? But overall, in a mindset, you've got to look at Matt Rule again. Now with the talks about possibly being on the hot seat, is this a reactionary move for him to maybe try and save his job?
Absolutely. And here's the thing, too, is we all know that like there was questions that were arising for this franchise, for Matt Rule. And people were starting to, question his philosophies, his decision-making as a coach. And now it all comes to a head to the point where Matt Rule's like, all right, I need another escape plan. I need something else to deviate the attention to me to somewhere else. Well, you know what? Let's point the finger at Sam Darnold. That makes sense, right? Because the Jets did it. They blamed him. They said, we needed him out of here. Now why don't we do it? Hey, guess what? Sam, you're the problem. Not the fact that you went early on of last season, you went early on and went 5-0 with this team, but you're the problem. You're the reason. Not my offensive scheme, nothing like that, not my coaching decisions. So we're gonna move on from you, and we're gonna go hit up Cleveland and say, hey, Cleveland, what do you want for Baker? We're not gonna give you a lot. We're gonna be honest. So they agree to a deal. They get Baker Mayfield, and now. And the other part of this equation, too, is the fact that neither team is paying the full amount of the contract. They've decided to split the financial part of his deal, where 50% Cleveland still pays, and the Panthers pay the other 50%. So just to get this deal done, there was some things some hurdles they had to get over first. So they get the financial thing done, they get the deal done. Now Baker's coming to Carolina to do one thing, and that's start for the Panthers.
All right, we've got a couple people in the house with that. We got Karam Veer, I think it is 123 on Twitch is there with us.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Absolutely. Mike Tackett's in the house with us tonight too, as well. Happy Wednesday, guys. I hope everyone had a JPP list 4th of July. What does the trade for the future? What does it mean for the future of Robbie Anderson? Who knows, again, because when you look at Baker Mayfield, and this is the thing that's going to follow him, I guess, despite being injured and still playing through the injury, which I thought was kind of dumb on his part, but I think he felt the same way. Like he really needed to also perform, I think, because people have a stigma on him now because he went to a team that they wanted him to be the franchise guy, and they stacked the team. You have Odell Beckham Jr., you have Jarvis Landry on there, you have Kareem Hunt in the backfield and company too as well. And there you go. We're in a win now kind of mode. Let's go get it. And they haven't. So I think everybody's kind of turned back and pinned it on Baker Mayfield and said he wasn't the one to get it done. So now, maybe they're looking at it here, or what Mike Tackett's maybe saying, is this going to hinder Robbie Anderson's ability to excel in this offense, especially because him and Sam Darnold comfortable playing together, and it seemed like when they were together on this team, reunited again, really hit it off.
Well, they didn't necessarily hit it off last season. Robbie Anderson was actually the guy not being heavily used anymore. As soon as Darnold got into his position there, he started to gravitate more attention to DJ Moore, and DJ Moore became the bigger part of that offense. So going into now, what does that mean for Robbie Anderson? Maybe the same thing. It's going to depend on where Baker, one, he has to learn this offensive playbook. It's a new playbook. He's going to have to learn it. And then he's going to have to develop chemistry with guys like Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, where Darnold doesn't. Darnold is already ahead of the curve. So I question the move altogether, because is Baker Mayfield that much better than Sam Darnold? I think they're almost kind of the same in terms of their playing abilities on the football field. So you not only bring in a guy who's very similar to Sam Darnold, but now you're almost passing the torch to a guy who is coming in cold turkey, does not know the playbook, does not have any chemistry with the teammates, and Darnold is already there. So instead of trading for Baker, I think the smarter decision would have been bring Darnold back healthy and keep building around him and this very young team. Now it's almost like you're taking 2 steps back, because you bring in another quarterback for a competition, quote unquote, and on top of that, there's a lot of uncertainty. Maybe there was some trust building between the offensive playmakers and Sam Darnold, and now you've kind of disrupted that. So what does that mean for your team going forward? It means this could be another tough season of figuring out along the way, hoping that you get better every single week. And with limited time, you have training camp and a week or two to get Baker ready for week 1. I don't have a complete confidence in that whole scenario. I question it. I think Matt Rule is he's just throwing up darts, hoping one sticks to the board. And I don't know where this organization is headed with Matt Rule as the coach.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me, again, what are you doing here? You're trying to throw a wrench into a situation where you're trying to get some of the guys to stay healthy, stay on the same page, and be able to play together. Guys that have been here together for a few years and haven't been able to play fully together a full season and things like that. Now you bring this in the mix, like you said, you got to learn the playbook, and you're trying to build chemistry, which there was already chemistry there with some guys, you know what I'm saying? Even though they just needed to be able to play together a little further. And to bring this in on a guy, like you said, is kind of similar too as well. Can looks good at times, but then again turns the ball over at crucial times, which could kill you. Hasn't been able to stay healthy, whether it even be Sam Darnold, just mainly being being sick, COVID, mono he had and stuff like that. And just, yes, they didn't give up a whole lot, a fifth that could potentially turn to a fourth. So, I mean, they didn't lose a whole lot, and they had to split the money. So they didn't kill them, but you left with the question kind of why, when you could have just rolled with what you had, not give up the pick, and just try and build this team with what you have moving forward.
Right. And not to mention, too, is like, what does Matt Rule see in Baker that he doesn't see in Sam?
Right. Yeah,
because let's go back to when Baker was drafted, first overall. A lot of pressure when you're drafted first overall. You got to perform. And he didn't right away. And you got to also take into consideration that when he landed with that team with Cleveland, what did they have really? When he got drafted, what did they have? No offensive line, no real scary weapons. Like, there wasn't very much to go off of. Maybe Nick Chubb, but that's really it. And Kareem Hunt. So now you have to build around Baker. Now, by the time the team got built for Baker Mayfield to kind of take over, when they had Odell, when they had Jarvis Landry, when they had those 2 running backs, but their offensive line still was not where it needed to be. So everybody wants to point the finger at the quarterback position, and I get it, because it's the most important position on the football field. You're going to take some hits along the way, but let's take it, for what it is. Baker came into a shitty situation, right? And they were starting to build around him, but never really truly got to where it needed to be until they decided to give up on him. Now Baker moves on, gets traded to Carolina, and he's coming into a situation where it's very uncertain. This has got to also perplex a lot of the teammates in the franchise, because now they're thinking going into the OTAs and their mandatory OTAs that they're going through. We got Sam. He's healthy now. We could win with Sam. We did it last season early on before he left the football field injured and gone and pretty much done for the rest of the year. Came back late, but whatever. But now we got a whole new. Wait, what? We got Baker. We just got Baker Mayfield, but we have Sam. Like I'm lost. I don't know what we're doing now. Where's our direction? Matt, where's the direction now? Now you're confusing the players. Now, listen, they're going to be soldiers. They're going to go to practice. It's their job, and they're going to do to the best of their abilities, and no matter who's throwing the ball. However, now you've confused some things. Now you have Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, and most likely it's Baker for the starter. But what does that mean for everybody else? Now everybody else has to work twice as hard to develop that chemistry all over again and get on the same page. And I'm just not so sure that this is going to lead to success for you. So now going into the season, what I once thought, and also too, to put into perspective, is Christian McCaffrey was hurt all last year. When he was healthy, this team was hard to beat. And I'm not saying one player makes a team, but when you put Darnold with McCaffrey and all those weapons and the offensive line that they had, they were tough to stop, and they were winning games. McCaffrey goes down with injury. The offense takes a little bit of a hit, but they're still moving. Now you're going to bring in Baker, who, I mean, you could, either way you could decide, like, I like Darnold because of this, or I like Baker because of that. But both of them have had mistakes and issues. Now you're bringing in a whole other, controversy to the team that you don't need, and a very young team at that. So I disagree with where they're headed. And you know what? If it works out for them, great. But as an outsider looking in, it doesn't look good for team chemistry, for bonding, for them to be able to trust each other. Because now all that's got to be recreated once again.
Nothing is impossible.
All right, but then if you want to take a look now on the Cleveland Browns side, I mean, with what they're dealing with here, and now I think the full investigation now has gone through. He is Deshaun Watson has had his comments here with the investigation, and they're going to now. I know what the NFL is seeking. They're looking for the whole year-long type of punishment, stuff like that. I think it's going to be less than that.
Not anymore. They're not going there.
Again, if it's all said and done, the Cleveland Browns are trying to just weigh this out and see what they're going to be facing here, what they're going to be looking at. Will there be a suspension at all? How many games will it be? You know what I mean? And so with that being questioned there, this really had to show you, especially probably after those comments with what Baker Mayfield, where he just came out a few days, was said, there is no fixing this. I'm out. So, there was no keeping him in-house to try and keep the seat warm until Deshaun Watson was able to come back and play. So now they've got the quarterback room, which now makes up Josh Dobbs and Jacoby Brissett. So now Jacoby Brissett, it's got to be entrusted into his hands, and they must have maybe it was just whether they felt comfortable or not. They just figured this is how it's got to be because this isn't working. So Jacoby, you're going to have to get it done for us until Deshaun Watson comes back, whenever that may be.
And the ruling is still out there, right?
Oh, yeah.
We've heard rumors that the NFL wants to go year long, but we've also, now that there's a new update, that now there might be going through maybe half a year, 6 to 8 weeks type of punishment. But my thing is, why? Why is he getting punished? Never was convicted in court. Then, of course, because nothing happened in court, now the, prosecution is going to go over to civil court cases and try to get some money out of the deal. And sure enough, a boatload, almost all of them have been cashed out. They're done. They're ready. They got their money. So this guy was never convicted of doing anything. And as the NFL, which is the most ridiculous, in terms of them putting punishments towards players, they're absolutely horrendous at it. They're terrible. They're up and down the scale. They don't know what's more severe, what's less severe, because what they show us is so, it's just so out there. It's not streamlined at all. It's not in conjunction with certain punishments. And one guy who has a domestic, abuse case, they're going to give him 2 games or 4 games. Whereas a guy who, got a speeding ticket, oh, nope, you're suspended for 8. They are so all over the place. They don't make any sense. So now you're going to try to punish a guy who was not convicted of doing anything wrong, And whether he was or wasn't, he wasn't convicted. So you got to treat him as an innocent person. And in doing so, there should be no punishment. There shouldn't be. And if you want to tack on a punishment, give him 2 games because the NFL got a black eye again because of bad PR. If that's what they're going after him for, that's ridiculous. But nonetheless, if a suspension happens, which it more likely will, hopefully it's not too long. And there's a reason for that, because Jacoby Brissett, he's a halfway decent backup. But as a starter, we've seen him with the Colts when he started for them. He's not the guy. He's never going to be that guy that's going to carry your team or help keep the train rolling. Mm-hmm. And this has got to be concerning now. Now, maybe Cleveland knows something that we don't. Maybe that behind the closed doors, maybe that's why they pulled the trade now with Baker. Or maybe it's just kind of a coincidence where they knew they had to get rid of that salary, get out from underneath that contract, and move on from Baker, because that bridge has been burnt to a crisp. There is no coming back from that. So they moved on from Baker. Now they're going to more than likely rely on Brissett and wait and see how long or how little Deshaun Watson might be suspended for.
All right, yeah, we're going to continue that conversation a little bit, because our episode tonight, we've been doing the NFC full, complete, biggest questions facing all the divisions here, and it so happens that we were going to do that this week. Was now the AFC North's biggest questions here, Joe. But why don't you tell everybody here, and all of our know-it-alls and people that are new to the crowd here, about SeatGeek?
Yeah, SeatGeek is the only source, and there's a reason why we say that, the only source to buy tickets for your favorite band, sports team, venue, whatever you like. Right now, you can get $20. That's right, not 20%. $20 off your purchase when you spend $50 or more on any ticket, just by entering promo code GOZ, G-O-Z. Visit SeatGeek.com to search for the event that you want, buy your tickets, and then use that promo code like we're telling you. We're trying to help you guys out there, save you $20. Anything over a $50 purchase, enter that promo code GOZ, G-O-Z. That's SeatGeek.com. Enter that promo code. Save some money. Enjoy the summer by using SeatGeek.com with promo code GOZ, G-O-Z.
There you go. That's right. SeatGeek.com. $20, $50 over. G-O-Z, guys. Put it up in there. Yeah, so that's right. AFC North, that's what we're doing. And, Joe, we're talking about the Cleveland Browns here. We're going to get right into their biggest question here for them, which we've been kind of bringing up, and that is got to be the Deshaun Watson issue here. What can the Browns do to compete if they lose Deshaun Watson for an extended period of time?
And that's definitely a huge question. That's going to be a very heavy answer. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to make up the difference that is Deshaun Watson, because Deshaun Watson is one of the best quarterbacks in the league today, hands down. He's mobile, he's smart, he's got a cannon for an arm, he's accurate, he's got everything you need, size, all that. And now when you take Deshaun Watson out of that equation for the offense for Cleveland, you're taking not only a proven quarterback, but now because of that vacated hole, you're going to insert a guy like maybe Jacoby Brissett. Maybe, who knows, maybe Josh Dobbs, outplays Brissett, and now he's your guy for whatever, length of time that may be. But the one thing that you can have some confidence in is that this offense is now ready around that quarterback position. Their offensive line, they've gone through great lengths of improving that offensive line. So now that's solid. They have, listen, I know that Odell isn't there anymore, and they lost Jarvis Landry in free agency, but they didn't want to spend that kind of money on a guy who was getting up there in age. So now they go ahead and they pull off a trade, and they get Amari Cooper from the Cowboys. So he ends up landing with Cleveland with Watson, and that's what everybody was kind of, there was hysteria about this Cleveland offense brewing and how much better they could be now that they got Watson. But at least they got weapons. At least they have some guys that are still developing. They got the rookie David Bell after this year's draft, who they're hoping to develop into that possession role. Donovan Peoples-Jones, who has flashed at times of being one of those starting caliber wide receivers. Another guy is Anthony Schwartz. So they got their offensive line, they got their weapons, and then, of course, they got the tight end David Njoku re-signed, big-time deal for him. I don't know
Big time.
why.
Yeah, right.
Because they don't even use him that much. But other than that, you can't mention this offense without their backbone. That's the running backs. Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, deadly as hell. So this is kind of what they have to rely on. They're going to have to rely on everybody and just hope that whoever is the quarterback, if it's not Watson, that they just have to manage the game. Don't make mistakes. Don't turn over the football, and let the other playmakers around you work. So that's what they got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying there too. But I mean, when you're looking at their I mean, I don't know. It's because they had to know that maybe something was going to go down with this Deshaun Watson thing. Because if you're going into the season and you have Amari Cooper, that's great and all, but Donovan Peoples-Jones, and like you said, you drafted a wide receiver there. Jacoby Brissett isn't exactly going to help them develop and get them any better. I mean, having him back there and having those guys, I'm not really afraid of that wide receiving core right now at this point. So you got to think, especially it's kind of been that kind of an offense anyways. Kevin Stefanski's going to pound the rock. He's going to just try and run off those two running backs here, keep it going, make it safe enough so then Jacoby Brissett doesn't have to do a whole lot of thinking and make those turnovers, just make the safe throws, have Amari Cooper as a nice dish off here, and try and get the offense to roll that way and really rely on, I think, some of what this defense can do to keep the points low as well while you're trying to hold the seat warm for Deshaun Watson to come back. Because, again, if I'm a team playing them and I've got this Jacoby Brissett right here with these guys, I'm not really afraid of this offense at one point. I'm going to be stopping the run, and then I'm daring you to throw it at that point. So, luckily for them, I think their first 5 or 6 games isn't against a lot of tough competition. So basically that's all he's got to do, run the ball and try and keep it clean. So he could do it if it's like a 6-game suspension, but anything longer than that, it might get out of hand, especially with this division that's getting closer and closer by the season with what we saw with the Bengals and how they were able to perform last year. And the Ravens trying to get back into the mix of things, Joe.
Yeah, the thing, too, to remember is that teams have been trying to stop their run game and have failed to do so. Like, even with – think about it. When you had Baker Mayfield as your starter, and people might, say, oh, well, he was terrible with Cleveland and this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, he has his mistakes for sure. But you have a guy like Jacoby Brissett who routinely comes off the bench, and he's a good game manager. He's not a guy that's going to commit mistakes and turn the ball over like crazy. Baker Mayfield was trying to do a little bit more than what he had to do. Mm-hmm. So he might have been pushing the ball where it shouldn't have been thrown or something like that, which led to those turnovers. But now you have a guy who is more concerned about not turning the football over and just making the play, not trying to be the genius behind the offense, not trying to be the guy that's going to, step on some toes and say, oh, no, I'm great. I'm going to throw it wherever I want to. So I think that's what, with this offense that they have at their ability at receiver, at their offensive line and their running backs, with everything all put together, they're not going to ask Jacoby Brissett or whoever it is to do too much if Watson is out for any extended time. So with that being said, you can see a guy like Brissett open up and just get rid of the ball quickly, get it into the hands of some of these receivers that are still kind of unknown yet. But also Cooper is going to be double teamed. You know that on passing plays. Yeah. So guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones, and we've seen him step up before. He's going to be full-time. So he's going to get another big-time chance this season to prove that he belongs out on the football field. Also, guys that kind of like are quick twitch receivers that a lot of teams have a hard time defending is Jakeem Grant, who ended up going to Cleveland, left Miami, went to Cleveland, and Anthony Schwartz, who's an underrated name, but wait, he's going to make a splash this year. So I like what they have on offense. I think they could get it done, maybe not to the standard that with Watson there, but I still think they can win some games no matter who's at quarterback.
All right. Yeah. So let us know in the comments. What do you think about what's going on with Baker Mayfield, the Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson, and that whole debacle and what's going to be going down? We're still going to hear about this for the next upcoming weeks and stuff. But I know when you talked about he didn't do anything wrong, this and this and this. Just to touch on it quick for me, again, in my opinion, yes, technically not, but when he's having those conversations and admitting to what might have gone down or just being truthful or everything, one thing you do know is he did have massage therapists invited to the team facilities or other places, did have intercourse with them, even whether it was consensual or not. If you're even doing that on the facilities there for the Houston Texans and stuff like that, that doesn't play out too well. So I think he even if he's not guilty of something, he might need to go to see some therapy about something else that maybe he's a sex addict or something like that. Like why he's got this thing. It has to be massage therapists even as well. And he can't go out and get his women on his own or something. It's just something different. I mean, there's some other interlining issues, I think, and that's where it comes in to being detrimental to the Shield. I don't think it's as severe, like what you're talking about, when it is very confusing when they lay out punishments. There is no guideline. There is no stature. There is no, it's all up and down. The former kicker for the Giants, beat his wife, got one game, right? Yeah. Boom. Yeah. Meanwhile, Zeke, who, flipped the girl's top up, whatever, got longer. Right. Tyreek Hill got less, and then this guy gets more. They're
inconsistent.
It's all over the place. I will agree with that part.
The biggest problem for the NFL is that they're inconsistent in every ruling. And every ruling is different. It's like, what does Roger Goodell and company feel like giving out today? You know what I mean? There's no consistency to their decision-making or range of the severity of the crime or action that a player went through. So it's very perplexing. It's very, I wonder, maybe Roger Goodell the gavel should be taken away from him and taken power out of his seat, because so far he's done a very shitty job of dishing out punishments depending on the situation. So I feel like there needs to be a change at the top, and I understand that's not going to happen right now, but maybe at some point he gets voted out, and it could be leading up to this Gruden case. This is a big thing. This is a very big deal for Goodell in the NFL, because if Gruden is successful in his case, he could have Goodell's job for everything that's transpired. So that's a whole other big enchilada to get through.
Who knows? Maybe that'll break the same time, like when we were talking about AFC West, Joe. Who knows? But we enjoy you guys joining it with us. If you haven't yet, you listen to us on podcast too. Don't forget our podcast people out there on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, all that stuff. If you guys are on there, make sure you check it out. Check out the show. Give us a like. Give us a follow. And you can take us on the go. That's the whole thing about this show. We're football on the know. That means you can get us on the go. That's right. And if you haven't yet, even you've been late to the party, we're on YouTube as well, not only just Facebook where we started, but we're on YouTube, Football on the No Show as well, like Joe always says. Go there, hit the notification bell, let you know whenever we go live and other things, and we post more videos, and subscribe. Drop a comment in there and a like, definitely. But let me tell you about our friends here at Mohawk Honda, who I really liked and enjoy all the time too as well. I drive by them every single day, Joe. I see the lot. It's filled up, even though the supply chain is still facing challenges. But that only creates a selling opportunity for you, because don't forget, if they're missing out cars and you want to get rid of yours, hey, they'll come take yours. That's right. Bring it in, or even before you bring it in, go online, MohawkHonda.com. Put in your make and model of your car. They'll calculate a price, the Kelly Blue Book instant cash offer, of what they possibly would give you, and then you could start from there. You can trade it in for some cash in your hand, or right there, put it in as a trade-in on a brand new car, or as a nice pre-owned there too on a Mohawk Honda on their lot. So check it out, MohawkHonda.com, or stop at the showroom there. Talk to Cars with Kerm, VIP Lewis, the VIP Morales, C-Mac, Let's Do a Deal, McKenna. Drive with Deanna Cowles, and also General Manager Greg Johnson out there on Freeman's Ridge Road in Scotia, Mohawk Honda, where they go out of their way to please you. Joe, that's right, AFC North. And there's another big question going on with those up-and-coming teams, too, that kind of fell on their face last year. Didn't do so well. Finished last in the division. And they were kind of that up-and-down team when we weren't sure what was going on with them. What's going on with these guys? And it's got to be the Baltimore Ravens here. So for me, can the Baltimore Ravens here bounce back after a disappointing 2021 season here? Joe, what do you think?
It's going to all depend on Lamar Jackson. It's that simple. I mean, Lamar Jackson is what makes this offense go. It's designed around Lamar Jackson. And we saw last year that he struggled a little bit down the stretch and turning the ball over, throwing misguided throws, and they got picked off a lot. So it's going to all depend on Lamar and how well he plays this year. We know that their offensive line is usually always stout. It's always good. They managed to add some more talent this year. We know that they lost talent, but they also replenished it. One being the rookie and Tyler Linderbaum at center, which is a great pick. Other than that, the wide receiver group also went through a little bit of a change. Marquis Brown is over to Arizona Cardinals, got traded away. And they must have felt comfortable because with the offense being so run heavy that they knew they still had two young receivers that they drafted, both of them, Rashad Bateman in 21 and Devin Duvernay in 20. They have confidence in those guys to, fill in those roles, and hopefully they can become more of a dominant player for the Ravens. That's the hope. The reality is, because they run so much, because they do option plays and all that, your number one receiver really is your tight end and Mark Andrews. And with Lamar, he's definitely gotten better since he's entered the league, for sure. Throwing the ball, mechanic-wise, decision-making. However, with this offense, it's almost holding Lamar back in a sense because they run so heavily and they do option plays so much that you'd like to see this offense kind of evolve this year. And hopefully they do. If the offense evolves into more of a balanced offense to where they're running, they're passing, they're mixing it up, it might make Lamar even better. And that's scary. And if they can do that with the players that they have at their disposal, they'll be able to get back on top of this division, or at the very least, compete for it at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing there, too, that's people, it almost seems like, well, he's always going to get his. You've seen him, the athleticism, what he's able to do, but this is the stigma, again, that's kind of placed on him. And he even brings it up in conversations and in interviews. Oh, yeah, look at this. I'm just not a running back there. I can throw through, which he did make some throws here and there, but people have been kind of testing him. Say, listen, we're just going to still test you because we know you're going to get those yards still. We know you're still going to be able to scramble and get out there. What we're going to do is try and put pads on you when we can and try to bang you around and get you to throw. Let's see what mistakes you make. And he's also, on the other hand, trying to still prove that he's a pocket passer.
Right.
And that's where it's kind of been the issue there, too, as well. And so that's where he's kind of fed into what they wanted to do. And that's where this team was back and forth, and to where now he got injured, and that's what you don't want. Because you see his stature, that he is a bit frail a little bit, too. He isn't bulked up enough to take some of those hits. And if you tell yourself, if you keep running like that, you're bound to get injured. You're bound to get hurt. And when they don't have him, I mean, they lost the last 6 or 7 games in the season, right in a row. Just lost. Some of the wins that they did have were against really terrible teams or okay teams, but even some losses, they lost to the Miami Dolphins, were an up-and-coming team, but still not elite. And when it came down to those last remaining ones, those were like playoff-bound teams, and they failed. And that's what they needed to do, is be able to hang with those guys to show that that's what they are, to compete with those guys. They were one of the best teams in the AFC, and they failed miserably. So they need to get this, revolved all around him, and to take away Marquis Brown like that, somebody that he did rely on, it's going to be an interesting thing for them moving forward and what they're going to do. I know you had brought up the idea of, do they try this year to change up their scheme, their offensive scheme, to not just be all-encompassing run game, here or there, and just sprinkle in the pass here and there, but be a little bit more of a balanced team.
Yeah, and they could still incorporate what they do well with those options and run option plays and stuff like that. Because honestly, you can't take that element away from Lamar, because that's what makes him super dangerous to defenses, is when he does get out of the pocket and is now in the open field. Super hard to bring down and get a hand on. So if you take that all the way and then just have him handing off and have him throwing the football, it takes away from that elusiveness that we see on the football field on a week-to-week basis from him. And you don't want to get too far away from your identity that you've created for this offense and being so multi-versal at everything. You know what I mean? He could fake a run. He rolls out, fakes a run, and he's dumping it to Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews has got a 20-yard gain. So you don't want to take everything away, but I'm just saying kind of make it a little bit more of a balanced offense, still incorporate the plays that work really well with Lamar and company, but open it up a little bit more in terms of the throwing and evening it out a little bit more. You can still be like 60-40 run, or, you know what I mean, something like that, maybe 55 or whatever, but kind of play with it a little bit to see what works and to throw other teams off, because right now nobody's surprised when Baltimore comes out and they're like, oh, well, this is a run play. Oh, this is a run play, but it could be to Lamar. It could be to someone else. It could be to one of the wide receivers. So defenses are really good. When it comes to D coordinators planning for a game against Baltimore stuff, they've gotten better at it. And that's why you're starting to see some of the inconsistent plays from Baltimore's offenses, because they're being stifled by some of these defenses that they're playing. So now it's time to evolve. That's all I'm saying, is for the offensive coordinator to get with Lamar and get with their weapons. And now it's time to take a step up. It's time to raise the bar a little higher, evolve this offense around Lamar still, but make it available to him to throw a little bit more, just a little bit more, to keep defenses on their toes. Yeah, absolutely. Again, you got to keep him on his feet too as well. You can't have him keep taking these hits. Last year, he took about 10 more hits than normal, sacks up to 38. So he's getting up there around Russell Wilson numbers there. But then also, again, the drop-off. 16 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. The funny thing, I just took a look at this whole thing. He made the Pro Bowl last year on that, and he only played 12 games. Yeah. What the hell are people doing? It's popularity. It's terrible. It's popularity, dude. We already know all about that Pro Bowl voting. It's terrible. It is terrible there. But, yeah, as far as getting them to get back after that disappointing season, I think for that, you can only go up after having such a bad season like that for them. For sure. But go ahead. Yeah, and they're fueled for it. You know what I mean? They're fueled to have a comeback season because their defense, listen, they got a lot of young stud that are up and coming on that defensive side of the ball, which was much needed a couple years ago. So this defense looks on paper like they could be dangerous, really dangerous once again. And with that being said, their offense has just got to take a tick. It's got to get a little bit better this season to get them right back in the hunt. Absolutely. And, even some of those old veterans are coming back, too, as well, for that defense to get it going. But John Harbaugh, too, has been a solid rock for this team. They've been keeping going and been relevant since he's been there. So something like this, a little bit of a setback, but I think moving forward, they can get it going. And they've been really revolutionary with how they design these offensives, too. And, when you think about what people were going to do when Lamar Jackson was drafted, were they going to set what kind of offense would fit him the most? They designed it kind of around him and made it work and got it going that way. And it's been impressive for them. So if he could stay healthy, then get forward, get back into this division, I think they could definitely make a push. Let us know what you guys think down there in the comments. Don't forget. For sure. And don't be nervous about this. Yeah. Comment down below. If you got a question you want to ask us, feel free to do so. If you want to give us your opinion on what we're talking about here, we're talking about the AFC North. We've talked about the Ravens. We talked about the Cleveland Browns so far. Give us your opinions on these teams and what you guys might think about it. You know, are you confident that Cleveland can still survive if, in fact, Watson is suspended? Or with the Ravens, you know, there's got to be a little bit of, you know, questions pointed towards Lamar Jackson and his development. You know, is he going to be able to carry this team? Are they going to change the offense? We'll have to wait and see.
Right, because I think he's looking for a new deal too as well and stuff moving forward. So where's this going to
Of course he is.
Align things? Because, again, what are the Baltimore Ravens going to do with playing into this whole deal? He's had 2 consecutive seasons of 20-plus touchdowns and single-digit interceptions. Last year, not looking so hot.
Nope.
But if he gets banged up again, they're like, you got that injury stigma. Oh, he's frail, keeps getting banged up. You know, how long is this going to last us? Do we want to throw him the money? You know, things like that.
Right, but here's the thing, is when you have, and we've talked about this numerous times, when you have your franchise quarterback that works best for you, you hold on to him as long as you can. As long as, obviously, because of a catastrophic event, an injury or something that's going to prevent him from being the same, I get it, that's different. But when you have your franchise quarterback, you hold on to him. You don't try to find the next best thing right away. That's going to happen over time. You're going to have to address that. But hold on to him as long as you can. Listen, Lamar Jackson is still young enough to even carry and even help this team maybe get back to the Super Bowl and win one or whatever. But you got to hold on to guys like this. And the biggest question for all of that is contract negotiations. What are they going to be like? Because you're dealing with a guy like you just mentioned, like he came back from an injury. You know, he is a mobile quarterback. He's tough to deal with outside the pocket. However, when he's starting to take more licks now, and when that happens, and as you get older, your body's going to break down. You're not going to be as fast. You're not going to be as elusive, and you're going to probably most likely take more hits. It's just going to, your body might start to fall apart. So the Ravens have got to think about that going forward and how they're going to not necessarily change how he plays, but curve away from him being the spotlight factor of him having to run the ball a lot. So when they come to grips with that, and that's where we're talking now about right now, evolving this offense. So when that day comes, you can still mask it. You can still allow him to be Lamar, but at the same time, you're not running him as much. And now he's being able to show off his arm, talent. So we'll see how the Ravens, what direction they head as we get closer to that discussion. And believe me, we're definitely going to have that discussion all over again when the time comes. But now we're going to move on to the Cincinnati Bengals.
That's right, Cincinnati Bengals, Joe. And my question here for the Bengals has got to be, have the Bengals done enough to protect Joe Burrow to make another Super Bowl run, Joe? Because, again, despite their Cinderella-type fairy tale that they had going on.
Did a great job.
I mean, that was a big question that aligned with this team. You kept seeing it. You kept seeing it throughout the playoffs. Even I think it was the AFC Championship game too, where he was just getting banged around and stuff. He's still getting up and duking it out and getting them to the Super Bowl, to where, as you see even in that photo, they're getting double teamed and his offensive lineman still rushing back to try and get him, to just witness him getting pounded and still been able to get to the game. So, I mean, if a guy that's coming off a season-ending injury the season before, you got to got you now to the Super Bowl within the next year, just like that.
Yeah,
you've got to keep this guy standing up, and if you're going to compete at all.
Yeah, and that's what the organization did this offseason. They concentrated on the one thing that was the biggest weakness for them, and that's the offensive line. I mean, you look at what they've done to this O-line. Listen, they drafted it in 2019. They drafted Jonah Williams. They drafted this year Carmen Jackson, who's going to replace that weak left guard position. And in free agency, they brought in to fill out the rest of the O-line on the right side. Their center, Ted Karras, comes over from the Patriots. We'll take you, thank you. We're also going to take Alex Kappa from Tampa Bay to play right guard for us, locking that spot down. And then let's finish it off with the right tackle. Let's bring in La'el Collins, who was a free agent from the Cowboys. They decided to move on from him because of salary. And boom, they lock him in. So now you're looking at a completely revamped offensive line besides the left tackle. And now it is not only was one of your weaknesses, now is one of your strengths. And what else do you have? Great receiving core. We all know that. And Joe Mixon is still getting it done at the running back position. And you go ahead and you build that. Now it looks like, yeah, they're going to make another run for the Super Bowl. Listen, what they were able to accomplish without a very good offensive line, pretty porous actually, and for them to do what they did and get to the Super Bowl, now they've rebuilt this offensive line to be a strength of theirs that's going to help protect Joe Burrow, keep him upright, and make this offense even more dangerous. I know some people can't imagine that, but now it's going to be more dangerous. And then defensively, they sprinkled in, we're missing a hole here. Let's grab this guy. Let's grab that guy. Okay, we're ready for next season. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, and again, that's what you're hoping to do when you look at a roster that they built here. That's what they needed to attack, and that's what they did in the offseason too. So looking at a guy that, look, he had 51 sacks last year. 51. I mean, that trumps even anything that Russell Wilson has dealt with here, too. Prior season before that, too, again, 32. So this is a main issue that this team has had, that this is what they needed to do attacking moving forward, because you saw what they were able to do when he was finally paired with a wide receiver, especially that like Jamar Chase that he was comfortable with already from college. And that duo together and what they did, propelling them into the playoffs and then the Super Bowl. They're trying to retool, getting ready to go. Hopefully, Joe Mixon can have another bounce back year here too, and do the same thing.
He is
back and forth right after consecutive seasons.
He is.
They did move on from their tight end. I can't remember what his name is right now, but
C.J. Uzomah.
Uzomah, yeah, that's right. But they get into Hayden Hurst here now too, a guy who's kind of bounced around from a couple different teams here. You know, what kind of tandem is he going to have here for this offense here? I think, again, he's going to be able to be a dish off onto, some receiving plays. But, again, a good, I think, run blocker here for them.
He's a difference maker. He's a dual tight end, so he can block and go out for passes. He can make people miss. Another guy to keep an eye on, too, is Drew Sample. Listen, he was behind CJ that whole time. He's going to be behind Hayden Hurst, but I look for him to get more opportunities this season. Now that CJ's moved on, they might go between both those tight ends. And another tight end that they have on the roster, who I'm hoping makes the team, is Thaddeus Moss, who in college from LSU, I had high hopes for this kid. He came from a very serious injury and has been fighting back ever since. But, man, in college, this kid was amazing at tight end. I'm just hoping that he comes back fully healthy. I don't know if he is or not currently, but if he is, I'm really pulling for this kid. I hope he can make a team, and whether it be with the Bengals or not, but also and make a difference, because I think he has it in him.
And again, this team, like I was saying, I mean, they're young, up and coming. They were a little premature on this run, but I think now that they've been there, I think they're ready. But the only other thing is, I think they can make it through this division fairly easily too. I mean, yes, the Baltimore Ravens have something to prove to come back here. I think the Steelers are kind of on a down year again, but then again, you look at the quarterbacks that joined the AFC this season, Russell Wilson, things like that. And now you've got Matt Ryan in the AFC as well, so it's going to be a tough road to the Super Bowl for any of these teams in the AFC. But the Cincinnati Bengals, I think they have a really good shot here to bring it back and run it back.
And that's the thing is they addressed their biggest need. That whole offensive line definitely done, and their defense is just going to get better. Because as good as it was last year, and let's face it, the defense is what kept them in a lot of those games. Because Joe Burrow, like you said, was getting hit 51 times throughout the season and getting knocked around. It's absolutely astonishing what they were able to accomplish with no offensive line. So, man, I think this team is just so much more dangerous this year. You got to watch out for the Bengals. Don't take them lightly at all.
All right. Yeah, that's so. You know what? Something you can't take lightly now, Joe, is the heat that's been coming on. Happy And I hope everybody had a good 4th of July and Independence Day out there. I mean, I had a long weekend. It was great. It's great when it falls on the weekend, too, Joe. I mean, you can extend it. You don't have to go back to work. You have a short week this week coming up, too. I took an extra day, too, so I only have a 3-day week this
buddy.
week, so it's going to be awesome. I went camping and stuff, got some sun on the beach, too, and the mosquitoes weren't bad. It was great. But summertime, can feel the heat, Joe. It's getting warm. Why don't you tell everybody about Johnstone Supply?
Yeah, listen, summer's here, everybody. You got to deal with it whether you like it or not. And it's heating up. Hey, if you want to stay cool all summer long, call Johnstone Supply in Troy. Ask the team at Johnstone Supply about their high-efficiency central air conditioner systems.
Sounds
and
nice.
Ductless mini splits. That's right, baby. Goodman, Fujitsu, Westinghouse, you name it, they got it. They're all in stock and at great prices. Need someone to help you install a new system? Johnstone Supply in Troy, they got you too. They can help you with that too, and give Tom, Kev, James, and Bird a call. That's right. I said Bird. He's there.
That's right.
And they can help you guys out. Stay cool all summer long. Call Johnstone Supply in Troy at 518-272-5922. 518-272-5922. Or visit them at 2600 6th Avenue in Troy, New York. You know what else you can do? I'm just saying, if you don't want to call them and you don't want to go there, you can hook up with them online at johnstonsupply.com. Get a new air conditioner system today. They will help you out.
There you go. Johnstone Supply doing what it takes to get you cool this summer. That's right. All right, Joe, now we're moving on to our last team in the AFC North here, and that's got to be the Pittsburgh Steelers, all right? So the one thing you have to ask yourself, I guess, about these Pittsburgh Steelers,
yes, sir.
What's the one thing, I guess, majorly that's different about this team? And it's got to be the quarterback issue, that they no longer have
Big Ben.
Big Ben. So my question here is for them is, can the Steelers win with Mitch Trubisky here? Again, they finished still. That's the thing. He's starting new as their quarterback. They don't have Dwayne Haskins anymore because he passed on and stuff like that. But he's got the helm now to move forward. They drafted Kenny Pickett. They're saying right now that he is the leading guy right now, Trubisky, to take the starting job. Kenny Pickett's going to sit behind him. It's a new set of downs here. Ben Roethlisberger was able to get that team into second place in this division, and they start off, and there's a joke about it, a meme about they start off hot, and they win the first go undefeated, and then after that, they just foot off the gas and they fall apart. And they still backdoor into the playoffs, can't do anything, and they're done. Mm-hmm. But this team has always kind of been there. They have that winning tradition. They have not had a losing record or been fourth in this division and since 1988. Mm-hmm. That's how long it's been since they've been really the losers of the division. Since then, the division's gone from 4 teams to 6 teams to 4 teams. So now this is kind of the questions that's going to be facing these guys here. You don't have Big Ben anymore. Yes, people saw that they were tailing off with Big Ben and what he was doing, some of the turnovers that he made, some of the big bonehead mistakes. But overall, he was still able to get it done for them and still get the W's here. Now you're trusting your team in Mitch Trubisky to where the Bears had given up on him completely. Mm-hmm. He's gone and backed up for Josh Allen for the Buffalo Bills. Now he comes in to try and win another starting job position here to come into play right after Big Ben, and he's kind of a different type of player than Big Ben as well. He's not that guy that sits in the pocket to try to make the plays. He's better, I think, on his legs. So what are the Steelers going to do? Are they going to change the offense a little bit to tailor around to his attributes, what he does well, get him out in bootlegs and stuff in the different types of space to make some plays happen? So what are the Steelers going to do here so they can get to some winning ways?
You just answered your own question.
Boom.
Real quickly, because this is the first time that the Steelers have had a mobile quarterback, for the first time in a long time. I mean, you can think all the way back to the Cordell Stewart days, when he was a quarterback / receiver / everything. Mm-hmm. He was the last mobile QB that they had. And now you're bringing a guy like Mitch Trubisky. Like, listen, long tenure for Big Ben. He's been there. He's done it. He's won a chip with them, a couple of them actually. And he's been there, done that. You know what I mean? Now it's time for him to move on. But now here comes Mitch Trubisky. This is somebody that the Steelers specifically targeted because they saw a lot of things that they like and some things that they want to try to do at the quarterback position. Just like Jim just mentioned, rollouts. You know what I mean? They're trying to get him, play action plays. Everything that they're going to try to do is move the pocket around now. They weren't able to do that with Big Ben. But now with Mitch Trubisky and his threat of his mobility, they can do that. They can move the pocket. Mitch can also create more time now than Big Ben could. And that's going to lead to maybe some big plays. Or at least, a play that wasn't there at first now is going to open up and be there. So a simple answer to the question is yes, they can win with Mitch Trubisky because it's going to open up more doors for this offense. And they are going to tweak this offense. They're going to make it more streamlined for Mitch Trubisky to play. And I know it's kind of like a long way ago, but Mitch Trubisky was winning games in Chicago, and that Chicago team wasn't very good, offensively, anyways. He did go 5-0 before he got hurt. Before in Chicago, the team he's on to now is definitely a more well-run organization. He's coming into a kind of open book of players. Like there's talent on this team. I know that there's still contract negotiations going on between Deontay Johnson and the Steelers and trying to get that nailed down. But let's look past that. We all know Chase Claypool and what he's capable of. But they drafted a kid out of Georgia, and George Pickens, who I think could develop into another stud receiver for this team, along with none other than the former Patriot, Gunnar Olazuski. This kid, I think, is going to be the most underrated player for this team. Gunnar is going to make a big difference, I feel like, in this offense and for Mitch Trubisky. The only problem I have with this offense, and I know I've heard from a lot of Steeler fans, and they're saying, "Oh, we upgraded our offensive line, and we're going to be amazing." I still don't buy your right tackle. I'm sorry. I don't think he's very good, and I don't think he'll ever be very good. I still feel like that's a big weakness for any kind of speed rushers or guys that are just flat out that good on defensive end. The one big upgrade, and I feel like is their biggest signing in free agency, is James Daniels, the right guard from Chicago. This dude is a mauler. So, yeah, you upgraded there, but still not buying the right tackle position. And thank God you have Trubisky, because there might be times when he will be running for his life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, for them, too, you got to kind of go back to what, you did and what your game plan was, prior to that. When they go and you're telling yourselves, they need an offensive line. What do? They go and get Najee Harris. And we were both kind of like, wow, man, I mean, yeah, he's a good running back. But I think they really need to go offensive line there. Mm-hmm. But still, despite all that, he still had 1,200 yards rushing and did really well. And they were comfortable handing off the ball. They got a running game back. And this is what I think they really need to do here with the team this season, too, as well. Get the ball going, get the ball into Najee Harris's hands, and then move around that. Like you said, you've got the weapons there, and Chase Claypool as your deep threat. So I see if you get those bootlegs around off of some of those read options, play options, and can get out into space and bomb it to him, hit the numbers. Again, because what you do see with Mr. Trubisky, where he has kind of faltered, is getting quick reads, getting to his reads quick. He's kind of looked for a guy, he's not there. And by that time, the guy who was open is now covered and he can't get it to him. So when the play breaks down, or if you can get him into space on some of those read option type of plays or bootlegs, when you can get a guy open downfield and maybe some guys pinch up on him, that's when you can make some of those plays happen. And we've been able to see Deontay Johnson kind of evolve into this wide receiver that they hope that he could be. Get rid of some of the dropsies that he had in the past and try and put that behind him. So I think, again, keep the ball in Najee Harris's hands the best you can, and then eliminate the mistakes of Mitch Trubisky, but what a great defense to have with you, though, also as well. They tried to do the same thing for the Chicago Bears to help him out, too, and get that defense going, but the stars that are on this defense can help get it done here. You got T.J. Watt, Devin Bush still there, Minka Fitzpatrick, who's been out of his mind since he's gotten there. But they did also add Miles Jack to this defense as well. So that's even another deadly threat to have on this defense as well, to keep them in these games too, and try and make it so that in case that offense does sputter a little bit and they're just trying to control the game and the clock by running the ball, that they don't ask Mitchell Trubisky to put up 30, 40 points on the board against teams, that they can keep it in a defensive type of tight game and get those hard wins.
And that's the thing, is like this team has been always built to have a good defense. Mm-hmm. And they've always helped keep the team in, in competition again to win the game. So that being said, all they really need is a little bit of offense. And that's what they've been lacking. Yes, even with Big Ben this past season, like, he cost some games too. He was throwing some balls that didn't need to be thrown. And that's how they ended up losing the game, is turning the ball over too much. So I feel like with the offense that the Steelers normally run, with Mitch Trubisky and his mobility, they do predicate getting the ball out quick. And yes, they're going to set it up. They're going to run the ball. They're going to pound it, against the defense and try to pound them into submission and get them tired. And then they're going to come back, and now you got to deal with Mitch Trubisky. Good luck trying to catch him as he does a play action where you think Najee's going to get it. Oh, nope, he pulls it back, and then look at wide open players. Chase Claypool, wide open on a post. You know what I mean? And that's what you're probably going to see. I feel like they are going to ground and pound with Najee Harris. On top of that, with Mitch, he's going to dink and dunk and get the ball to playmakers' hands and let them see what they can do with it afterwards. And then the big splash play that the Steeler fans will be waiting for, because it's going to be coming. So I feel like with Mitch, it gives them a different element at quarterback that they haven't had in a long time, which they're going to utilize this upcoming season, which in turn is going to help them win some games.
Right. And now the one question for me, though, too, again, going forward, if there is any type of issue where it seems like he's making some of those mistakes, how short of a leash does he have that they might turn to Kenny Pickett and the fans start demanding for Kenny Pickett to start in some of these games? This happens a lot, happens every year, where the fans just want to see their rookie. They drafted their rookie. They want to see him out there. They want to see exactly. But Kenny Pickett is not ready. Just like any of these other quarterbacks that got drafted this past season, they are not ready to start right now. They're not. In fact, I would say this: Trey Lance is in the same line with them even a year after.
Boom, shakalaka.
He's not ready to start. Why do you think the Niners are kind of hesitant on even trading Jimmy G right now? They might even decide to keep him for one more year. I mean, we've talked about that before. But all of these quarterbacks that got drafted this year, none of them. Yes, a lot of people were pointing the finger at Kenny Pickett as being the number one rated quarterback, number one NFL ready to put on the football field. However, there's a problem that I have with him, is no NFL quarterback has been able to hold on to a starting gig with his smaller hands. And he's in a franchise that plays in outdoor weather, which we saw at the Senior Bowl him struggle when there was some rain and precipitation falling down. The ball was slipping out of his hand. He wears gloves all the time, and it might lead to fumbles, might lead to poorly thrown balls that get picked off. So I think what would be smart is, I think Trubisky has a long leash. I think he's a veteran. He's still young. He can definitely help this team. And I don't think you need to rush a rookie that still needs to develop like Kenny Pickett any sooner than you have to. So Mitch probably has a pretty long leash compared to some other quarterback situations. And I know everyone's going to want to see Kenny Pickett out there in the Steeler uniform, but you got to be patient. You got to trust the process, let him develop, because like him, every other quarterback that got drafted this year needs big time for further development. So let them grow, let them mature. And since you have a guy, a veteran like Mitch, let him work.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So there you go. We tackled our AFC North's biggest questions this week. We talked about the Baker Mayfield situation. What do you guys think about that? Let us know. Drop a comment in the box there.
You for or against?
Yeah, we're for or against. What do you guys think? If you're a Panthers fan out there, are you excited about this? You're a Darnold guy. What do you think? Like Mike Tackett said, what is this for the future of Robbie Anderson? Some of those other guys out there.
Yeah,
how they feel. I think some of those guys even openly said it. I think it was. Was it DJ Moore? I can't remember who had brought it up that they didn't want Baker Mayfield, when the first talk started stepping up. Right. Yeah, and now all of a sudden he's there.
It might even have been Robbie Anderson.
It might have been Robbie Anderson. Yeah, and think about it. I'm trying to remember who it was. So now what are you going to do? Derek
hey,
Debo
what's going on, Derek?
In the house with us in the house tonight.
What's up,
he's
buddy?
a bum.
He's a bum.
There you go. So that's what a lot of people think. Again, why do you think that, dude? Is it just his play? Because, again, a guy who has a lot of flair, has a pizzazz, puts his heart into the game. But, again, he was banged up, too. So how much do you play it out to be some of that? I mean, with his throwing shoulder, the way he was trying to go, it was rough.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to say, to me, the fault on that whole situation falls on Cleveland. Mm-hmm. Like, if your quarterback is injured and you think it's going to hinder his playing, you don't play him. You have to play someone else. You don't play him because he ended up hurting the Browns when he was in there trying to grimace through it and trying to make plays. So, shame on you, Cleveland. Shame on you.
Shame.
But listen, you showed up late. If you haven't done so already, make sure you head over to YouTube. Search us up, Football on the No Show. Hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell. Let you guys know when we go live. Also, if you're not a YouTube fan, you want to head over to Facebook, do the same thing. Become a member, become a know-it-all. Derek has one more thing to say.
What does he say?
He had a great defense and studs on offense and could not do a thing.
See, and that's, I guess, the stigma. Like I said, that is following through on that.
He had a shitty offensive line.
Yeah, because you think about his first season, too. I mean, it was kind of a catch-22. Joe Thomas, on his last little bit, trying to make a run here with them, he was basically their rock that they had. He retires, and then it changed a whole different thing. Ugh. Then, also, during that time, though, you had Hugh Jackson in there. You know what I mean? And so they're trying to make it work together. Then the Freddie Kitchens issue and stuff like that, So then he moves on. It was a whole weird debacle, and then finally to where you get where it's Kevin Stefanski.
The deal with Hugh Jackson, though, is I just feel like if they kept him at that head coach level and were able to let him call all the plays, because I've seen him have a tremendous success before as an offensive coordinator. Now, I understand head coaches, that's a lot to ask of him, but if he was able to call the plays, I feel like over time, as they built that roster up, then Baker would have been more successful. I feel like he's a very good offensive-minded guy that doesn't get a lot of credit. And if he had more time with Baker, I think that Baker would have had more success by now.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been. Like I said, that's when he was probably doing the best. And it looked like the Cleveland Browns had made the right choice, at least at number one, at least close to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
It looked like it was the perfect type of situation. And then now you see where it all lies. So,
but when we watched that draft, how shocked were you that he went number one overall?
It was shocking because I remembered even that evening I was. That's when we were bowling and stuff like that. At the bowling party, I went and stopped at the liquor store. I wanted to go and get liquor for everybody for the party, and I'm like hanging by the radio to hear it because I was going to miss the first pick, and I'm just like, this can't be serious because that night we heard that everything was changing. Again, we heard that the Browns had met with Sam Darnold's family. They were going to bring him in, but it seemed like it was locked in. It was ready to go. And then all of a sudden that night it breaks that they're actually going to go Baker Mayfield on this whole situation. And I was thinking, like you were kind of thinking, like what? You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I could not get it. I'm like, really, bro? I'm like, wow, but, and then they did it, but then it seemed like, maybe they were leaning towards the right situation here as the season went forward, but not getting along with Hugh Jackson, loving Freddie Kitchens so much that Hugh Jackson's gone, Freddie Kitchens jumps in. Terrible as a head coach. Could not get it done.
Yeah,
Could not control
that was
everybody.
a rush job. That was a rush job for sure.
Or mistakes, play calling in certain situations. He's out. And now we are where we are. So now both those players are on the same team, and now we're ready to see the soap opera that's going to happen now with the
bad decision, Carolina
Panthers.
Bad decision.
All right, everybody, that's it. So much. Thank you so much for joining us for our show here. Don't forget, you can also go to repsports.com. Get yourself some Raise Energy. Promo code RaiseEmUp. That's right. Get some Rays for yourselves. They got the new Italian ice flavor, I think, out there now. Joe, Italian ice. I haven't had a chance to try it yet, though. Some of our know-it-alls haven't let me know that it's delicious.
I'm going to have to order some.
So, yeah, we have to get some more. You guys order yourself some as well. Like I said, repsports.com. Promo code RaiseEmUp. And get yourself some Rays. It's beautiful. All right, that's it.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. You know, for all the newcomers that joined in, they added some comments and everything. Thank you guys so much. Listen, really appreciate the support. Thank you all, our sponsors.
Hashtag know-it-alls.
Boom. See you later.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday nights for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.